This didn't make any sense to her. How did a melody that she had locked down over the summer, last summer, suddenly appear on Jennifer Lopez's album? This was something that really bothered her.
All right, baby. Let's talk about something that's been floating around the industry for years: whispers, rumors, and tea so hot it might burn. We've all heard bits and pieces about Beyoncé and Jennifer Lopez possibly pushing other artists out of the spotlight. But what if I told you they didn't just push anyone out? They pushed out Mariah Carey, not by mistake, not by coincidence, but on purpose, intentionally, strategically, allegedly. Of course, but some say this comes straight from Mariah herself. And trust me, this tea is messy. Let's rewind to the 1990s. Back then, Mariah Carey wasn't just famous, she was the music industry. Hit after hit, album after album, she was topping the charts.
Have you heard Beyonce Drunk in Love?
I don't know. I love Beyonce, but I have not.
Mariah just flew in from her own planet. I'm telling you, this is Mariah's.
From my own planet?
Yes,
I did.
yes, absolutely.
And I don't.
Her own music, producing her own records and carefully managing her image. In an industry that barely gave women, especially women of color, any real control, Mariah was out here doing it all. She was elegant, mysterious, multiracial, and breaking boundaries in every genre from pop to R&B to hip-hop. Basically, she set the standard. She was the blueprint. In fact, if you look back, you'll see that a young Beyoncé was obsessed with her. I mean, full-on admiration. There are interviews and clips where Beyoncé talks about how much Mariah inspired her to sing. She didn't say Whitney Houston or Aretha Franklin sparked her love for music. She said it was Mariah. Specifically, Beyoncé credited Vision of Love as a song that made her want to be a singer. She talked about Mariah's voice like it came straight from heaven. Beyoncé once said that hearing all those vocal runs and emotional riffs made her wonder, how does she do that? She was fascinated and started practicing those same techniques in her own music. She even said that trying to mimic Mariah's style became...
There are rivalries, but I don't think she has anything to do with me. I mean, my whole thing is singing, writing songs.
She's an actress.
Yeah, and I've been doing this, my whole life. Singing is first and foremost. It's a God-given talent that I'm grateful for. Her thing is something different.
Part of her own artistic foundation. That's how deep her admiration went. So what changed? That's the question. Somewhere along the way, the fangirling stopped, the shout-outs faded, and some fans believe Beyoncé started to feel like she had surpassed Mariah. Maybe even thought she didn't need to acknowledge her anymore. Let's be real though. Mariah Carey's legacy is iconic, but she hasn't always gotten the respect she deserves. She's known as a queen of vocals, but the media often paints her as the overly glam diva who pops out every Christmas season in heels and glitter. Meanwhile, Beyoncé has carefully crafted an image of being the female version of Michael Jackson or Prince. Game changer not just in sound, but also in visuals, culture, and power. That's not an easy image to build, and if you're trying to be the one, you don't want anyone else in your lane, especially someone who might have done it first. So, it wouldn't be surprising if Beyoncé quietly distanced herself from Mariah's legacy because it didn't fit the narrative she was building for herself. Now here's where it gets even more controversial. Some folks believe Beyoncé didn't rise to the top just because of her talent and hard work. They say she may have gotten help from powerful people in the industry, mainly her husband, Jay-Z, and that behind closed doors. There were moves made to shift the spotlight away from Mariah and toward Beyoncé, not directly, but through influence, through favors, through deals that worked in Beyoncé's favor and sidelined Mariah's career in the process. That's allegedly how the industry works. The people who play the game, who make the right connections, who do the favors, they rise. And sometimes they rise while more talented artists get left behind. Artists like Mariah. But Beyoncé isn't the only name in this story. Let's talk about Jennifer Lopez, a stunning woman, no doubt. She came up around the same time. She had the looks, the moves, and a big personality. But if we're talking about vocals, she was never in the same league as Mariah Carey, not even close. Still, J.Lo got handed global fame on a silver platter: movies, albums, perfume lines, fashion deals, and even a Super Bowl halftime show. It's like she was fast-tracked to superstardom. And here's the kicker: when Mariah was going through a very messy breakup with her ex-husband Tommy Mottola, who also happened to be the head of Sony Music at the time she was working on the soundtrack for her movie Glitter. She had secured a rare sample from a song called Firecracker by Yellow Magic Orchestra, and she planned to use it for her single Lover Boy, but suddenly, that exact sample showed up on Jennifer Lopez's song I'm Real before Mariah's version was released. Yep, the same music that Mariah had locked down for her comeback single got scooped up and handed to J.Lo. And it wasn't a coincidence. Tommy Mottola was reportedly furious with Mariah for leaving him and wanting out of her contract. He was still a powerful figure in the industry, and some say he used that power to sabotage her career. He allegedly gave her music to Jennifer Lopez just to spite her, knowing full well it would ruin the momentum for Glitter. And Jennifer, she played along, whether she fully understood what was going on or not. She benefited from the mess. Mariah herself talked about this in her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey. She didn't name names outright, but she made it very clear that Tommy used his connections to punish her. She said he couldn't stand the thought of her being successful without him, and he made sure she didn't get to shine. According to Mariah, everything that went wrong with Glitter was because of him. So here we are. Beyoncé and J.Lo, two of the biggest stars in the world. Mariah, still iconic, but not always given the credit she deserves. And this question lingers. Did they climb to the top by stepping over Mariah Carey? We may never get the full truth, but if even half of what's being whispered is true, then Mariah didn't just get overshadowed, she was pushed out, not by accident, but on purpose. Let's go back to one of the most iconic shady moments in pop culture. You remember it, right? When Mariah Carey was asked about Jennifer Lopez and famously replied, "I don't know her." Phew. That moment is still legendary. It wasn't just shade, it was a full eclipse. That line pretty much defined the unspoken drama between two of the most famous women in music. Now, let's get into where all this tension started and how it ties into some major music industry moves that might have changed the course of Mariah Carey's career, possibly at the hands of Beyoncé and J.Lo. Years ago, during an interview, Mariah was asked what she thought about other female artists in the industry. She gave Beyoncé some credit, saying she was sweet and a talented songwriter. But when the name Jennifer Lopez came up, Mariah didn't even blink. She just said, "I don't know her." It was calm, but the message was loud. That clip has been replayed so many times for a reason. Fans knew there was more going on behind the scenes. Later, on Larry King Live in 2002, Mariah was asked directly if she had any beef with Jennifer Lopez. Her response? Brutal but honest. "There's no competition if the other person can't sing." Ouch. But it didn't stop there. In a Talk magazine interview, Mariah threw even more shade. She had been talking about how little sleep she was getting, just 3 hours a night, because she had to sing, write, and perform all her own songs. Then she made a not-so-subtle dig at J.Lo, who claimed she was getting 8 hours of rest. Mariah said, "If I had the luxury of not having to sing my own songs, darling, I'd do that too." Phew, the nerve, but also the truth. Because here's the thing, the rumors that J.Lo doesn't actually sing all of her songs have been around for years, and they didn't just come from nowhere. Let's talk about J.Lo's 2001 hit I'm Real. That song came from her second album and helped boost her music career to new heights. But according to singer Ashanti, that song was originally meant for her. Ashanti had already recorded it. Her vocals were already on the track. Then suddenly, the song was handed to Jennifer Lopez, and here's the kicker: you can still hear Ashanti's vocals in the final version, allegedly. They kept Ashanti's background vocals because J.Lo couldn't deliver them the same way. But hold up, before I'm Real was given to Ashanti, it was reportedly being saved for Mariah Carey. That's right, the song made its rounds, and every time it moved, it was getting snatched from a black or brown woman and handed to J.Lo. And this is where Tommy Mottola comes in. Tommy was Mariah Carey's ex-husband, and also one of the most powerful music executives at Sony. When their marriage started falling apart, things got ugly. Mariah was working on her movie Glitter and its soundtrack. She had secured a special sample from a song called Firecracker and was planning to use it on her single Lover Boy. But suddenly, J.Lo released a song with that exact same sample before Mariah could drop hers. Coincidence? Not likely, according to multiple sources, including producers who were around at the time. Tommy Mottola deliberately gave Mariah's sample to Jennifer Lopez as a form of revenge. He was reportedly furious that Mariah left him and Sony, and he wanted to ruin her momentum, and it worked. The glitter era ended up being one of the most difficult times in Mariah's career. The movie flopped, the album got buried, and her mental health took a hit. In her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, Mariah said it herself. She explained that Tommy was determined to punish her and used every bit of his influence in the industry. To do so, he didn't want her to succeed after leaving him, and he certainly wasn't going to let her shine with glitter. And as for J.Lo, she benefited from all of it. Whether she knew the full story or not, she didn't hesitate to take the spotlight that should have been Mariah's. It didn't stop with I'm Real either. Ashanti also wrote and sang the chorus for Ain't It Funny, another J.Lo hit, and again, Ashanti's vocals were used without giving her the full credit she deserved. J.Lo just had to show up and lay down a few lines, while Ashanti's voice carried most of the song. And get this, rapper Fat Joe later admitted that What's Love, a song many associate with Ashanti and Ja Rule, was almost handed over to J.Lo too. He said Irv Gotti called him up in the middle of the night and told him they were trying to give the track to J.Lo and make it a Latino anthem. Even though the song already belonged to Ashanti, Ashanti has since opened up about how frustrating it was to watch her work being used without proper credit. In an interview with Metro UK, she said it hurt to be overlooked and undervalued. It took her over 20 years to finally speak out about it, she said. It's really important to give credit, especially nowadays when everything's smoke and mirrors. It's frustrating. She also admitted that while it was painful to be erased in the moment, it eventually turned into something fans respected her for. People are finally starting to understand just how much she contributed to J.Lo's success. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. There are whispers that Mariah Carey may finally be ready to tell the full story, the real story about what happened. People close to her say she's working on something, maybe a second memoir, maybe a documentary, or maybe just waiting for the perfect moment to drop the truth. But whatever it is, it's coming. And when it does, we might finally understand the full extent of the industry sabotage she experienced. We might get answers to the questions fans have been asking for years. Was J.Lo knowingly used to take Mariah down during the glitter era? Did Beyoncé distance herself from Mariah once she outgrew the fan role? Or did the music industry just decide that Mariah was too complicated, too honest, too emotional, and quietly shift their support elsewhere? Whatever the case, one thing is clear: the music industry has always had a dark side, and it's time those behind-the-scenes stories come to light. And if Mariah does tell her side, oh, baby, you already know it's going to be messy. Let me know what you think. Was Mariah pushed out on purpose? Did Beyoncé and J.Lo play a role in that? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this drama is far from over.